there. Well, good morning. How you doing, Latanya?
Good morning, morning team.
Good
morning.
Good.
Hey.
It's great to have you here. We are very, very happy because we always hear about, the mother gaining custody, and not that that's a bad thing, but sometimes I truly believe that the father gets the bad end of the stick.
They do.
Yes.
They do.
And why is that? Is because fathers don't know their rights. They give up the fight. Is because they're going through it with the mother. Tell me why it's always so hard for the men.
Everything that you just said is correct. It's because they give up the fight. Typically, most fathers, they're having these kids out of wedlock.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any rights to these children. And a lot of fathers in Atlanta, or in Georgia in particular, they don't know they don't have any rights.
Mm-hmm.
If you have not legitimated that child, you don't have any rights, which essentially means if your child's mother decided to move to Dubai
mm-hmm.
or Japan and you wanted to stop her, you don't have any rights.
Mm.
If she wanted to put you on child support without you taking a DNA test, she could do that. She could go through the state and have your paycheck garnished, and you haven't taken a DNA test. But keep in mind, you still don't have any visitation rights, no parenting time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anything until you legitimate that child.
What has to take place for fathers in Georgia to legitimate their child?
Well, essentially, legitimation in Georgia allows the biological father to be recognized by law as a legal father when a child is born out of wedlock.
Okay.
And superior courts and juvenile courts in Georgia recognize that. And what you need to do is file a petition, get an attorney, and file a petition for legitimation. And once you file that petition for legitimation, you don't necessarily have to take a DNA test unless a particular judge asks for a DNA test.
Mm-hmm.
But that gives you not, I don't like saying visitation rights because you don't visit with your child, but it gives you parenting rights. It makes you on an equal level
mm-hmm. as
the mother, and you will get a child support order, a fair child support order, where you're not going to have this woman saying, if you don't give me $50 here, if you don't give me $300 here, you're not going to see your child. You'll have a court order that will tell you this is how much you need to pay in child support,
mm-hmm.
and if you don't allow me to see my child, you are in contempt.
Right.
And she will be thrown in jail.
Wow. We actually, one of our team members here, Be Easy, has a question for you this morning.
Yes, I have a question. As far as visitation, I know you don't like to say that word, but with my son living in another state, being in Indiana, is there some kind of law to where instead of you having to meet halfway or me having to drive all the way to Indiana or her driving all the way to Georgia, is there a law that says you're really supposed to meet halfway, but we don't have to? Does that make sense?
Well, typically, if that child was born in Indiana, you would have to go by Indiana laws. But I'm sure a judge in Indiana would be fair to understand the father stays in Georgia, the mother's in Indiana. You guys need to meet at some type of halfway point. And then you can also have your child support order to reflect that if you're going to be paying travel expenses to go see your child 4, 5, 6 times a year. Likely your child support could be modified, which means a downward modification. Your child support could be reduced based on travel expenses.
Interesting. Because I don't mind driving halfway because we're cordial, so I don't mind driving halfway. But sometimes that's a long drive. So I want to know, do I have a right to say, hey, can you drive to Georgia?
You have plenty of rights,
okay.
But if she's going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
So
that's
you would want that in the order.
Wow.
So it would have to be in the... Okay.
I'm not going to say it has to be in the order, but she could flip the script like many women do.
Yeah.
And say, I'm not doing it. But if you have that in the order, I mean, what's fair is fair.
But I have to go to Indiana courts to make that.
If that child was born in Indiana and that child resides in Indiana and that mother's in Indiana, that child is the jurisdiction of Indiana. You have to go to Indiana.
404-352-0945. I know we got some fathers out there who have some questions, and that's why we wanted Latanya to come on, because we want to fight for the rights for you as well, because you are important. 404-352-0945. We'll take your questions next on Streetz 94.5. This is good. Great.
I didn't know that.